Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about the Pratfall effect and what that has to do with body image. So just starting off, what is the Pratfall effect? It's a concept that comes from some research that was done on how we perceive people's imperfections. And the very short story of what they discovered is that we perceive people who we already find likable to become more likable when we see them exposing sort of flaws or imperfections. Whereas if we already see somebody as unlikable, then we're going to like them even less when we see their flaws and imperfections. So for example, in a movie where the protagonist is some beautiful woman and she shows a more vulnerable and imperfect side by being clumsy via pratfalls, falling down a lot, the audience is going to love her even more. And this is because she was already likable, and the audience already holds her in positive regard. Right? So when she shows her imperfections by falling down, she just comes off as charming and relatable, and it just makes her even more likable. So in short, we ascribe a positive association to her flaws because we already associated her in a positive way. But the flip side is true too. So if we saw, let's say, the villain of the movie doing pratfalls and clumsy falling down, somebody that we already didn't like, then we're more inclined to view this person and their imperfections as more negative. It confirms just a long list of things we don't like about them already, and so we see them as even less likable. So again, we ascribe a negative association to someone like that when they expose their flaws because we already see them in a negative light. So what does this have to do with body image? First of all, many of my clients are constantly looking for an objective answer about their perceived flaws. And, is this acceptable? Is this safe? Or is this going to make people reject me? And the answer is, as shown in the pratfall effect, that depends on what people thought about you already. Also, the pratfall effect explains why you can look around and see the same flaws on somebody else and not find them negative at all. You maybe see cellulite on somebody else and you think, oh, that's great for her, she looks beautiful. But then when you look at yourself, it's extremely negative and you just view it as like proof that you are unattractive or unacceptable. The pratfall effect also explains why high status women think thin, white, conventionally attractive. That kind of woman can display her body flaws on Instagram or wherever, and people will just love her for it. And they will share and they will boost her up and they will really, really just go crazy for that, while so many women who are seen as culturally inferior, meaning women who have less status, who are in larger bodies, who are black, who are disabled, who are trans or non-binary, these are people who are demonized for the same exact flaws, the same exact kind of posts, and they get outraged, they get hate, they get very little visibility or support for posting the same thing that other woman posted, that other person posted. Now, the pratfall effect can also explain why people in marginalized bodies feel like their bodies are so unacceptable. So please note that the pratfall effect has to do a lot with racism, sexism, ableism, lookism, fatphobia, and more, right? If you display a body that fits the cultural positive ideal, then your flaws are more likely to be perceived as charming and likable. And if your body doesn't fit those cultural ideals, those same flaws are likely to be perceived as proof that you are unacceptable and unworthy of love and belonging. So this also has everything to do with how we see ourselves and other people. If you view yourself as overwhelmingly positive, you can have a way more neutral or even a positive relationship with your perceived flaws. Whereas if you view yourself in a super negative light, those flaws are going to feel like proof that you're a disgusting failure. And likewise, when you look at other people, this is why you might be super judgy about, let's say, your ex's ex, and have thoughts like she isn't even that pretty, and break her down gleefully, flaw by flaw, as proof that she's not even that pretty. Or conversely, you might obsess over how beautiful she is, flaws and all, and break yourself down flaw by flaw in comparison. And this all just goes back to the way that our brains scramble what we see based on how we feel about the person. So this is something I've talked about before, about how we can find all of our best friends and our partners and our kids and our pets to be the most adorable and beautiful and cute ever, flaws and all. And then we look at other people's, friends and partners and pets and kids, and we're like, yeah, they're okay. And all of this has to do with how we look at ourselves as well. So it helps explain away some of those super mean and traumatizing things that have been said to you about your body that stuck. And this is one of the most important things I want you to understand about the pratfall effect. If you think about a partner who wasn't super into you or didn't hold you in high regard or with high respect, that person is really likely to have to look at you and perceive your flaws as unattractive, gross, or unlikable, right? They already weren't into you, so they saw your flaws and went, this makes you worse. So maybe that person told you to lose weight, or maybe they commented on your belly rolls or your thick thighs, or they criticized some random body part, and you've been living in fear that other people must all see you the same way, even though other people have said they don't see it that way at all. These are moments that stick in our heads and really get in the way of our body image. Maybe a frenemy called you fat in middle school. Maybe some random person who hated you made you feel self-conscious about your nose. Or maybe your sibling told you that nobody would love you because you were too ugly. Those people were looking at you through an already not positive lens. They saw how you looked, and they perceived your supposed imperfections as negative, because now they're just wrapping it up into this negative thing. It's still the pratfall effect. Likewise, this explains and helps contextualize all of the super positive things that have been said to you about your body and your appearance, which are so hard to actually take in and take to heart. So for example, a partner who adores you might think you look fine as hell and can't understand why you would ever feel fat or ugly or any of those things. Or maybe your mother thinks your big nose is dignified and gorgeous, or your best friend thinks you're beautiful no matter what size you are. These people look at you through an already positive lens, and they see your body and your appearance, flaws and all, imperfections and all, as positive. So personally, I recommend looking back over the positive and negative comments that have been made on your appearance through this lens. Explore who said each thing and whether that person held you in already positive or negative regard, and therefore, were they likely to have perceived your imperfections as charming and likable and lovable, or super, super negative? So let this shift give weight to which comments you actually hold on to over time. The last thing about the pratfall effect is that we so desperately want to know where we fit in and if our flaws make us unsafe or not, and the answer is that there is no answer. It's subjective. Some people will like us, and therefore they'll see our flaws as charming. Some people won't like us, and therefore they'll see those same exact flaws as disgusting or proof that we suck. And this information should shift how we approach body image and body acceptance and body neutrality. Because a better question than how do I accept my flaws would be, how do I feel about myself? Do I hold myself in high positive regard? Do I have high respect for myself? Do I like or love myself? And a better question than who would ever like or love or accept me with these flaws would be, whose opinion of me do I want to respect, regard, and listen to? Because only the people who already like you should be recruited to give feedback on you, on anything about you, your people, partners who hold you in high regard and respect. When you find people who see you as overwhelmingly negative, get the hell away from those people and stop trying to earn their approval by making yourself better or trying to be attractive enough to get what they perceive as approval. They will never see you as good enough, and you will waste so much time and energy trying to convert them and feeling bad about what you see reflected through their eyes. When you find people who see you as positive, overwhelmingly likable, stop hiding your perceived flaws and let yourself be seen. This will lead to you being seen as even more positive in their eyes, more charming, more relatable, more likable. And letting yourself be seen in your entirety with those people will help you do the healing work that is required to reach body neutrality. So I hope that's helpful. The pratfall effect is one of those really interesting things that I love to kind of bounce around. So leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm happy to chat with you there. That's it.